I think we are moving there little by little. At least we have some data centers in Nigeria that are really world class. And I think we must understand the politics, global politics, and national security, just like you also rightly mentioned, of data sovereignty. Pretty much all countries that are smart are really talking about data sovereignty. And why data sovereignty? Because they understand that data is the new oil. And why is data the new oil? Because everybody is going artificial intelligence. And if people are going artificial intelligence, the most important ingredient for artificial intelligence is reasonable data. And therefore, you realize that if you do not control the platform and you do not own the data, there's absolutely no way you can compete. But I think that as a country, we still haven't got to that level of sophistication yet to understand why, as a national security measure and as a national strategy session for creating wealth, we must ensure that we have data centers that are viable, are reachable, and should I say affordable as well by Nigerians, such that we can control the ecosystem. But beyond just having the data centers, we must also ensure that we create and control platforms. I mean, take a look at what the Chinese are doing. You cannot use WhatsApp in China. Do you know why? Because they understand that WhatsApp, for example, is sitting on a whole lot of data. And so what did they do? They created their own. Why do you think this is possible? Because they have the population and they have their own WeChat and they are doing a whole lot on that platform. If you take a look at the population of Nigeria, that we spend a lot of time on Facebook, we spend a lot of time on WhatsApp. I'm not necessarily advocating that we must ban all these other platforms. What I'm saying, I think Nigeria is actually ripe to be able to come up with some of these things and control it and make it absolutely sovereign for our own use and for national security. Well, so you see, in terms of investments, I think whilst many people want to applaud Nigeria as hotbed for investments and stuff like that, it's true. But as far as I'm concerned, I think if we understood the game, we should be doing a minimum of 10x of the kind of investments we are talking about. And I'm not even talking about foreign investments alone. You see, nations that want to attract, no nation really grows by foreign investments. You have to understand that the local investments in every nation must necessarily be a lot more significant than foreign investments. Otherwise, the nation is not going to be self-reliant and is going to be suffering from a lot of insecurity, financial security. So my take on this is that in terms of investment, yes, people are applauding. I think if I were to score, I would probably score 20%. All right. In terms of usage, yes, Nigeria, all sorts of people are using all sorts of platforms. Lots of people are spending lots of time on social media. But the question is, to what end? What do people do on social media? They go on social media, either to abuse other people, or, just somebody's probably drinking Gary and then he says that deceiving others that are just having spaghetti somewhere and, we are displaying ostentation. I think rather than spend time doing that, what other smart nations are doing is using some of these platforms for propagating national values. And that's one of the things that I don't think as a country we have actually developed. And one of the things I said in previous times is that, I'm not saying, people think Nigeria has an economic or financial challenge. Well, maybe, but I think the real problem with Nigeria is not economic, it's not financial. I think it's a value system challenge. And I believe that if we fix the value system of this country, the economy will fall in place, security will fall in place, production will fall in place. So I think that What we should do necessarily is to ensure that these things are done. Nigeria has a strategy, and then we are able to galvanize and communicate this strategy. Then we will look for platforms and ensure that those platforms are owned by us, where we use to propagate these values. You talk about regulation. If you ask me, I think we are over-regulated, actually. There's a whole lot of regulations here and there. Regulations are not necessarily bad, but I think regulations are like speed bumps, so to speak. They deter you from doing many things. I think what we really need right now, regulations are necessary and good. We need some regulation, but I think rather than regulation, what we need is to catalyze development and ensure that a lot of organizations that have become regulatory agencies, rather than being regulatory agencies, should be catalysts to national and economic development and not necessarily regulators.
Thank you very much for your thoughts and insights on this.
You're welcome.